Hey, you guys. Happy Masculine Mondays. I am Regal Essence. I am Queen TV. I'm Queen TV After Dark. I'm Life is a Love Goddess. I'm Life is a Laidback Mom. I'm your ray of sunshine in the afternoon time. I'm your crystal healer and dealer. And I'm your past life princess. So you guys, today we're going to get into some past life stuff. We're going to dig a little deep today. Because I kind of touched on it a little bit last week, but we're going to come back around to it. And I want to talk to you guys about soul contracts, right? So soul contracts oftentimes have a lot to do with our past life, right? And I want to talk to you guys a little bit about how your past life affects your present lifetime as it relates to your relationships. Now, y'all know I'm here to shorten the gap between male and female relationships. One of the reasons why I'm here, right? So oftentimes you hear men say that, like, they don't understand women, like men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and we walk around with this deficit in our ability to understand each other. But I feel as though that is just an illusion, because we all encompass feminine and masculine energy. So how is it that you say that you can't understand something that essentially is like a part of you, right? It's just an illusion. So today I want to talk a little bit about soul contracts, right? And the purpose is to kind of help us understand a little bit better why it is that our relationships turn out the way that they do, to help you guys be able to come to certain levels of closure about relationships that may not have worked out, especially some of the most difficult relationships, okay? So when we come into this incarnation, we have already agreed to certain soul contracts, right? So there's a few there's 3 different types of soul contracts. So you have a twin flame contract, you have a karmic contract, and you have soulmate contracts. Oftentimes, our karmic relationships are the most hurtful. I don't know why my nose is itchy, y'all. They're oftentimes some of the most hurtful relationships, right? And the reason being is that our karmic relationships are here to highlight something within us that we need to, that we still are tied to, that is painful. It highlights certain things within ourselves that need to be healed. And it also allows for us to pay off karmic debt, right? And you can think of karmic debt as basically a debt that you have to pay for something that you may have done wrong in a past life. And you don't always pay your karmic debt within that particular lifetime. You may still be paying karmic debt from a previous lifetime. So sometimes that's why it is that certain relationships play out the way that they do. Our karmic relationships are here to highlight something within us that needs to be healed and allow our soul to evolve, okay? So the thing is, like, sometimes they're very difficult, and then even within our karmic relationships, there are black widow relationships, right? Within our karmic relationships, and those relationships basically have something to do with someone that has been allowed or contracted into our lives, and their main goal is to affect your bloodline, right? So they're deadly, right? So black widows are killer spiders, basically. And if you consider your bloodline, in order to wipe out a bloodline or something of that nature, it would require you being no longer in existence, right? They off you. So karmic relationships are tough. Black widow relationships are even tougher. And a lot of times black widows are engraved within our families. That's what makes it hard for us to be able to break the cycles of those relationships, because they're oftentimes tied to somebody else in the family. It's your cousin, your mother, your cousin's best friend, your brother's best friend, or something of that nature. Maybe a step brother or something of that nature. So it makes it very hard to kind of just like cut off the relationship, right? So karmic relationships are here to teach us a lesson. So oftentimes we may go through situations with people in relationships and we don't necessarily understand why the relationship ended the way that it did, why things were so painful, how this person could just be so cold-hearted, right? But I want to highlight today that we have agreed to go into certain situations, and those situations are to highlight things within us that need to be healed. So when we find that we are in relationships and when we come out of the relationship, we want to talk about the positive part. When we come out of the relationship, we have a greater sense of self-love. We have decided that, you know what, I'm no longer going to be X, Y, and Z. I'm no longer going to be a pushover. I'm no longer going to be a people pleaser. I'm no longer going to be in relationships and not have healthy boundaries. I'm no longer going to be in a relationship that I deny myself versus loving myself first. Those are some of the main concepts that our karmic relationships teach us, right? So oftentimes if you get into a relationship and you don't understand how it is that that person can treat you the way that they did, put you through the things that they put you through, hurt you in the way that they hurt you, it's oftentimes that you have some type of karmic contract with this particular person, and they're actually here to highlight something within you that needs to be healed, okay? So that is why at times our relationships look so tumultuous, because we can have soul contracts with people in our family. It's not just romantic relationships. And oftentimes people may have played a totally different role within our past life than they do in this lifetime, right? So oftentimes I don't believe that men realize that, and this is kind of touchy, but y'all know I'm gonna go here. Oftentimes we don't realize that our mothers may have been a black widow. Our mothers may have been a karmic partner. Our mother may have been somebody that we dealt with in a past life, and in the relationship obviously was not that healthy, and we have to heal a certain aspect of ourselves in this particular lifetime, and that is why that person is being used. Hold on, y'all, I need to move. I need some more light. Let me see. This is getting a little dark. So yeah, you guys, so that is why a lot of times our relationships, the ones that end really painfully, those are our karmic relationships. Our soulmate relationships typically are to be loving relationships. They will build us up. They will be nurturing, because they're not necessarily here to teach us a lesson. They're not necessarily a part of our lives to highlight something within us that needs to be healed, okay? So that is how we can oftentimes understand and gain certain levels of closure when relationships end the way that they do. You want to think of it like this. That particular person and I contracted for them to come into my life this particular lifetime and teach me a lesson, teach me something about myself, highlight something within me that I need to change, okay? And then when we do that, when we make those changes, that is when the karmic relationship is over. Like once you learn what it is that you need to learn. And most times what it is that we need to learn has a lot to do with self-love, has a lot to do with choosing yourself first, or seeing an aspect of yourself that you no longer want to operate in, and realizing that, like, yeah, I need to heal that, okay? This particular relationship brings out my karmic masculinity, and I need to my toxic masculinity, and that's not something that I want to be a part of me, right? Or at least that's what you were here to learn this lifetime. And as we begin to learn those lessons, we elevate our soul. And oftentimes those relationships will fall by the wayside because they did their job. You know what I mean? You fulfilled the contract. You learned what you were supposed to learn, right? So that is how I want us to view our relationships that are difficult in nature, the ones that are very, very hurtful. let's talk about moms, right? So oftentimes what my masculines may not believe and understand is that your mother, if you experience any type of abuse, if you experience any type of inappropriate things that may have occurred or happened within the relationships, oftentimes, because see, our souls don't forget, right? So our souls don't forget, and as we awaken, we become more in alignment with the things that we have gone through, right? So you may not even realize that, like, your mother may have been an ex of yours in a past life, and for whatever reason they were granted the position of being able to come back into your life as your mother. Now, I've been told that there was some type of battle or something of that nature in a past life that we did not win. So they got to come into this lifetime and hold a certain level of authority over and in our lives. But nonetheless, we're still here to learn from that relationship. And the sad thing is oftentimes it may be very painful. Y'all, now the train is coming by. The sad thing is that oftentimes it can be very painful for those of us that have experienced like childhood trauma and things of that nature. Even those of us that may have been in the foster care system, and we end up with a crazy foster parent, right? That person was contracted to come into your life and highlight an aspect of you that may have been healed, right? So what do I mean by that? Well, some of us that have experienced abuse of some sort as a child, what has it produced in you? If you have truly awakened and evolved your soul, what do you now do and feel as it relates to children? A lot of times it will produce, if you heal properly, it will produce a person that is very protective of the children, right? Because you know that whenever you were a child, you weren't protected the way that you needed to be protected. So now you have evolved, and now you are someone who is very adamant. Like, you may have a campaign, you may start an organization that helps to protect children, right? Now, that desire, that burden was unfortunately birthed out of your pain, but we understand that pain and suffering can be channeled into our deepest lessons, right? And our heart does not break, as per the Black Madonna. Our heart does not break, our ego breaks, and our heart expands for us to be able to have a greater capacity for love. Oh my God, y'all. I hope y'all can hear me. I'm going to talk a little louder because the train, okay? So, our deepest sufferings birth within us, birth within us a deeper capacity to be able to love, right? And without darkness, there is no transformation. So we have to go through things that are painful. We have to go through suffering, because within that is transformation. Within that, certain things within us, with certain things within our DNA, certain things within our souls becomes awakened, it becomes initiated, it becomes alive. We start to remember who it is that we were. We start to remember what our power is, right? And speaking of that, past lives. Sometimes we were warriors in a past life. Sometimes we were murdered in a past life in a very brutal way, right? And that's why I feel like sometimes you run into certain people and they are very violent, right? They're very, like, from the time that you've ever known them, they've been just like a firecracker, like very just rah, right? And that could be because in a past life you may have been murdered. Like, we don't, you know what I mean? Like, until we start to ask God and he starts to show us certain things, or you speak with someone who can give you an understanding of what it is that happened in your past life, you may not understand why it is that your soul, or why it is that your personality is the way that it is. And it is all tied back to the things that happened to us previously, because our soul still holds all of those memories, right? And as we awaken, like said, we become more in alignment with the certain soul wounds, right? Because a lot of times our dark night of the soul, we're dealing with soul wounds. And a soul wound is going to look like pain, agony, right? Pain that is around a certain theme. So say like loneliness or abandonment. And how I started to identify soul wounds is when I realized that I would have certain emotions connected or tied to a certain situation, but the situation didn't necessarily warrant what it is that I was feeling. That's how you know that that is a soul wound, right? Because those feelings and those emotions will be dredged up in certain situations, and you have all of these big emotions and you're feeling this big kind of way, or you're feeling so deeply about a certain situation, and really it's the fact that like your soul has been triggered and you're actually feeling the pain of a wound that is older than you, right? A wound that was inflicted upon you even prior to now, right? So those are soul wounds. Those are past life traumas, right? And as we come into our spiritual awakening, we are learning to self-heal, and we are healing from the things that we have experienced in this lifetime as well as in our past life, okay? Relationships, karmic relationships, they are here to highlight something within us that needs to be healed. They are here to afford us the opportunity to make a different decision, to go a different way than we may have in a past life, okay? Also, to my emperors, to my to those of you who have a lot of how I want to say it, y'all have a way with the ladies, okay? Y'all have a way with the ladies, and you've come into contact with like I know some men have women that like throw themselves at them all the time. Like, do you realize that like in a past life, like you may have been a king and you had a lot of different wives, you had a lot of concubines, right? You may have been a sex slave, right? And you had a lot of people there doing your bidding, right? And those souls have incarnated into this lifetime. So that's why some of y'all, you know, y'all got women that just throw themselves at y'all because their soul remembers you, right? Their soul remembers that, you know, we did the tango in a past life. So that kind of explains why certain men have like a lot of women that may throw themselves at you. Like she may have been, you know, she may have been one of your concubines in a past life. So that is where the connection comes from. That is where the synergy comes from. That is where the pull comes from, right? What else did I want to tell you guys? Mothers that may have been a significant other in a past life. Sometimes that plays out as like a mom who hates all your girlfriends. She doesn't want to see you fall in love. She don't ever want to see you in a healthy, happy, loving relationship because she's a bitter ex from a past life, and she don't want to see you she don't want to see nothing good happen for you, right? But as long as we are evolving, as long as we realize that, hey, I chose to come here and learn certain lessons, we will be able to move through those relationships, learn what it is that we need to learn, cut those particular cycles off or out of our lives, and grow, learn, heal, evolve, and go into our next relationship with a different perspective, a better way of doing things, because we have decided to change. Now, those of us that don't change, we don't learn the lesson, then guess what? We're going to be back here again. Y'all, the foot falling asleep. We're going to be back here again to learn the lesson until we get it. And guess what, y'all? Like, this is her last lifetime. Like, I ain't coming back. Like, this is it. This is it. So, everybody hasn't lived as many lifetimes as I have. So I'm here to wake people up so they don't have to keep repeating the same cycles, because as we learn what it is that we need to learn, what happens? Our soul evolves, right? So I want y'all to get the lesson, right? And like I tell y'all, I'll let y'all cheat off my paper as long as we learn what it is that we need to learn during this particular lifetime, so that we can continue to evolve our soul or whatever. So, yeah, you guys. So I just wanted to come and talk to you guys a little bit about what karmic relationships look like, past life contracts, difficult relationships with mothers, how that kind of plays out, childhood abuse, why that plays out, right? Why that can play out in our lives, and oftentimes, and you have to remember that, like, you know, elevating your soul and becoming more of a light being, that is going to be, you know, a threat to the kingdom of darkness. So of course there's things put in place so to stop you, but then also too, there's certain things that are put in place because it was supposed to teach us, right? Even sometimes we have chosen, like, certain people, and that's why we can't judge anybody. Certain people, you realize you chose to experience poverty, right? Some people, their soul contract, they came to experience poverty, and then at some point a switch happens, right? So they wanted to know what it felt like to go without, and then also I want to know what it feels like to have whatever it is that I want. So oftentimes, like, when we see rappers, performers that, like, they had the worst upbringing, like shit was just crazy for them, and then they get into the rap game, and then suddenly it's like rags to riches. Or they had money, but they had money in another legal way, and then they get into the rap industry and they just blow up and they make moolah cash, right? Because also too, we have a spiritual bank, no, a spiritual rank, and then we also have a spiritual bank. So some of us, we were rich in a past life, so we are meant to get all of that money. All of those riches are meant to come to us in this particular lifetime. We just need to align in a way that the money can funnel and trickle down in, right? Also, being born into poverty, that is a very different way of life, and it can produce different types of people, and the decisions that you make at that time is very detrimental to how it is that your life continues to play out, right? So if you're born into poverty, you have a lot of disadvantages. It feels like a dog eat dog world, like it's let me get you before you get me type of mentality, right? But if you evolve and you don't allow your circumstance to shape who it is that you are as a person forever, because at some point it is going to shape who we are as a person, but it's our job during this lifetime to learn from the lesson, make a different decision, like go with your heart, you know, like be led by your heart. And at some point you realize that, like, if I'm being led by my heart, like, I can't live my life in a continuous cycle of let me get you before you get me, right? And that decision to do things differently, that decision to be loving regardless to whatever it is that happened to me, that decision to give back and be generous, right? That's evidence of our soul evolving, right? And that also puts us in alignment for that spiritual bank, for us to be able to crack the spiritual bank, right? And be able to funnel all of the riches, all of the good karma and all of that we brought into this particular lifetime. So our decisions are very important. Our relationships are very important, and just understanding why certain relationships play out the way that they do, so that we can come to a certain level of closure and self-love is very, very important, you guys. So yeah, y'all, that's all I got for y'all on this Divine Masculine Mondays. I hope this helped you guys kind of like understand like why things play out the way that they play out. And it's not about like, oh, women, da, 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 da. No, you made a contract. You made a contract before you got here that you were going to learn certain lessons, heal from certain things, and evolve your soul. So that's why it played out the way that it did. All right. So that's all I got for you guys. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed. Hit the bell button so you know every time I post up. I want you to share this video with your friends. Share with your friends. Share this video with your friends. And remember, I love you. Peace.